Stop thinking the next AI leap is bigger models and more data. That's the amateur view. Google DeepMind's CEO, Demis Hassabis, just hinted at something far more dangerous. A way to build an AI training loop that isn't limited by humans anymore. And if that loop scales, the conversation shifts from AI is impressive to AI is a production line for intelligence. Here's the real bottleneck on the road to AGI. It's not raw intelligence, it's consistency. Right now, AI is jagged. It can look superhuman on one task, then fall apart on basic logic, planning, or common sense on the next. That's why we don't have anything close to general yet. It's not enough to be brilliant sometimes. A system becomes a threat when it's reliable all the time. So where does reliability come from? Not more internet text, experience. Humans aren't consistent because we've read the world. We're consistent because we've lived in it. We act, we fail, we adapt. We build an internal model of what happens if I do this. DeepMind's bet is that AGI needs the same ingredient. Models that don't just answer, but that can simulate, test, and self-correct inside something like a usable reality. That's where world models come in. A world model isn't a chatbot. It's a system that learns the dynamics of an environment well enough to generate an interactive space you can explore and manipulate. Not a static video, a world with rules. And here's the move that should make you sit up. Once you have a world model, you can place an agent inside it. One AI generates the world. Another AI lives inside it and learns. That isn't a cute demo. That's a training factory. Because for most of the last decade, training looked like this. Collect a massive dataset, train once, ship it, patch the failures, repeat. But if you can generate environments on demand, training becomes something else. The agent explores, hits the edge of its ability. The world model produces new scenarios that target its weaknesses. The agent learns again, repeat, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. That's the point. Once you can create experience on demand, you are no longer limited by human data. You're limited by compute, safety constraints, and whether what the agent learns in simulation transfers to the real world. That's why this matters so much. Because jagged intelligence isn't the end state. It's a phase before convergence. The roadmap isn't one magic model. It's multiple capabilities that fuse into one system: reasoning, vision, planning, memory, world modeling, and tool use, merged into something that's consistently competent. And consistent competence is the real threshold. Because the moment an AI is consistently competent, it stops being a feature. It becomes a worker. It becomes an operator. It becomes an organization in a box. Now here's where people get confused. When most people hear AGI, they imagine a smarter chatbot. But that's not the scary version. The scary version is industrialized cognition. Systems that can model complex domains, run simulations, place agents inside them, and iterate fast enough to discover strategies humans would never find. That is not automation. That is a new production method for intelligence. And when intelligence becomes a production method, the economy doesn't gently adjust. It snaps. People love to compare this to the Industrial Revolution. Fine. But the real difference is speed. The last transition took a century to digest. If this one compresses into a decade, institutions don't have time. Jobs shift faster than retraining. Politics polarizes faster than policy. Trust collapses faster than governance. And here's the brutal chain reaction. First, AI replaces tasks. Then it replaces roles. Then it replaces coordination. Because if you can deploy reliable agents, you don't just replace one worker. You replace the glue between workers. Scheduling, reporting, checking, following up, customer handling, admin work, basic analysis, internal operations. That's why post-AGI talk shows up naturally in these discussions. If machines can do most economically valuable cognitive work, the old logic of trading labor for resources stops working the same way. And that means society either reconfigures or it destabilizes. So what's the real takeaway for you? Ignore the brand names. Ignore the product labels. That's surface-level noise. The core story is the loop. World model plus agent equals experience on demand. Experience is what turns jagged performance into stable competence. Stable competence is what turns AI helps people into AI replaces workflows. And here's the strategic implication nobody wants to say out loud. Whoever owns the loop owns the pace of progress. If training becomes near infinite simulated experience, the winners aren't the people with the best prompts. The winners are the groups with the compute, the infrastructure, and the freedom to run these loops at scale. So here's the prediction. In the near term, you'll see more demos that look like toys. Agents playing games, navigating worlds, following instructions. Ignore the toy. Watch the mechanism. Because the mechanism scales into robotics training, scientific discovery, and autonomous software agents that can operate inside real businesses. And once you can train agents in near-infinite simulated scenarios, the real world becomes the deployment environment, not the learning environment. That is the shift. Next video, we break down the 3 bottlenecks still blocking this roadmap: reliability, alignment, and transfer. How you move from simulated mastery to real-world performance without the system breaking, hallucinating, or optimizing the wrong goal. Subscribe if you want the breakdown before this becomes normal.